In today's episode, I'm going to share with you 6 easy video ideas that you can use to go viral on TikTok. And I'm going to show you a bunch of examples from TikTok, but these videos can be used to help you go viral on Instagram or YouTube Shorts as well. And I promise you, if you stick around until the end today and you try out these 6 video ideas, you will go viral, probably not immediately, but definitely and eventually. In case we've never met before, hello, my name is Brock Johnson, and I am a social media strategist and Instagram growth coach, and I obsess over figuring out what is working with the algorithms and how you can have success with your online brand or business using short form video. A lot of you may know me from Instagram, and that is definitely my bread and butter and my most popular platform. But what a lot of people actually aren't aware of is that I was successful on TikTok long before I was successful on Instagram. I actually had success on TikTok back in 2019 with a series of viral videos that propelled me to over 300,000 followers on the platform. And since then, while the primary focus of my business has shifted to Instagram, I still have continued to consult with and help with many brands and businesses that are growing and super popular that you probably know and can think of over on TikTok. Before I actually share those 6 different video ideas with you, I did want to give you 3 quick tips to help you go viral specifically on TikTok, but again, a lot of this can be applied to other platforms as well. Number 1, experimentation is key. The algorithms are changing on a daily basis. According to the CEO of TikTok and the head of Instagram, they're constantly tweaking and refining and updating the algorithms. And in addition to that, viewer preferences are always changing. What people want to see, what trends are effective, what people are interested in, what pop culture phenomenons are going on is constantly evolving and changing and adapting. And so you, as a brand or business owner who's looking to go viral and have success on these platforms, you need to be constantly adapting and changing as well. I am in no way saying that you need to chase every fad and every trend that comes out, but what I am recommending is that you don't just consistently post the exact same style of video over and over again for months. I can't tell you how frequently I receive messages from people saying, Brock, I've been posting the exact same content for the last 12 months, but recently it hasn't been performing as well. And I say, well, exactly. For the last year, you haven't changed your content. Variety is the spice of life, and it is the price of likes. Brock Johnson, trademark pending. I am a big fan and proponent of constantly tweaking your hooks, the words you're using and not using, the style of videos that you're creating, and just experimenting with different trends and different techniques on your social media. It helps make it more fun and engaging for you, more fun and engaging for your followers. And the reality is, and I can say this as a social media expert, sometimes you just don't totally know what is and what isn't going to work, and the only way to find out is to try. Tip number 2 for creating viral content is probably the most important key ingredient in any short form video, and that is your hook. Your hook is by far the most important piece of your content. On Instagram, the average reel is watched for less than 3 seconds, about 2.4 seconds to be exact. On TikTok, the average video is watched for slightly longer, but we're still talking just a handful of seconds. And so if you can get someone to watch past the first 3 to 5 seconds, that alone is going to set you above the rest. That alone is literally going to make your video perform above average. So with that being said, here are 4 quick tips for your hook. Number 1, aim to be as concise as possible. I generally recommend keeping your hooks between 5 and 8 words long. It's okay if you're a little bit shorter or a little bit longer, but I wouldn't suggest a hook that is like 27 words long, and I also wouldn't suggest a hook that's like 1 or 2 words long. Usually the best hooks are going to be short sentences. Think of newspaper headlines. The most engaging headlines are the most engaging hooks, and they're usually relatively short sentences. My second tip for your hook is to keep it simple. What we find is that the hooks that perform the best are at or below a 5th grade reading level. So dumb it down. Simplify the words that you're using. I know you may be tempted to use insider lingo or fancy knowledge or some sort of special acronym that only you and your friends understand, but what we see is the more big brain intelligent words you put in your hook, the less likely people are to keep watching. And the reason for that is that when you confuse, you lose. And when there's just a single word or phrase or acronym that people don't understand on social media, they're not going to take the time to crack out the dictionary or the encyclopedia and look up what you're saying and trying to figure it out. They're just going to scroll. And I'm not trying to say that your viewers or your followers or your potential customers are dumb and illiterate and not smarter than a 5th grader, But the reality is, most people are unconsciously consuming. Most people have their brain turned off. They're sitting on the couch, they're laying in bed, they're sitting in traffic, they're in a waiting room, they're at school, whatever, and they're scrolling through dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of videos. And so you don't have their full attention. They might also be listening to a podcast or also watching TV or also on a meeting or something. And so you need to dumb down or simplify the words that you're saying or the text on the screen in your hook if you actually want to hook in your viewers. Tip number 3 for creating better hooks and thus helping you go viral is to include a negative word or phrase in your hook if possible. Now, I'm a very positive person, and oftentimes when I talk about this, people will say, Brock, I'm positive. I don't want to be negative all the time. Number one, I'm not telling you to be negative all the time, and I'm not even telling you to be negative. I'm just telling you to use negative words. Let me give you an example. If ESPN is writing a story and they're trying to come up with the headline, which again is basically the hook for the story, and it's about a team who won the game last night, the headline will not read, "The team won the game," which is positive. Instead, it will be, "The team snapped a 3-game losing streak." Either way, it's a story about how they won. But using the word snapped and 3-game losing streak, they're including these negative words or phrases, and thus they're more likely to get your attention, your eyeballs, and your clicks. And then my fourth and final tip for improving your hooks is to not just consider the words that you're saying or the text on the screen, but the actual visual. What are people looking at? Generally speaking, it's advantageous to have a human being visually in your hook in those first 3 seconds. It's also advantageous to have some sort of text on the screen, whether it's subtitles of what you're saying, a label for your video, or some additional context. And then a third thing. The third thing satisfies what's called the rule of 3. And that third thing could be an emoji, it could be a prop, or some sort of other visual element that in some way relates to the video or what you're talking about or whatever it's going to be. My third and final tip for creating better content, thus increasing the likelihood that you go viral before we even get into the 6 viral video ideas, is to follow what we like to call the miniskirt rule. Now, the miniskirt rule, I've gotten in trouble for calling it this in the past. In full transparency, the miniskirt rule was not named by me. It was named by one of our InstaClubHub students. And I continue to call this rule the miniskirt rule, not because I want to objectify women, but simply because I think it's going to stick in your brain. So enough beating around the bush. The miniskirt rule is that your content should be long enough to cover what you need to cover, but still short enough to hold attention. To say it another way, it needs to be long enough to cover the important bits, but not any longer than that. Basically, you want to be as succinct as possible. You want to be as direct as possible. You don't want to be redundant and say the same thing multiple different ways, kind of like I am right now. Instead, with short form video, the goal is not maximizing understanding by giving 17 different analogies and synonymous sentences that's saying the same thing backwards and forwards. Instead, it's being as succinct as possible, being as concise as possible. Asking yourself with each sentence, with each phrase, and with each word, is this necessary? Is this word or phrase or sentence important and needed to keep someone watching? Is it important and needed for them to understand what this video is about? Or is it potentially something that could bore them, that could distract them, or that is just not needed in order to move the plot or to move the tip or whatever your video is about along? All right, with all of that being said, let's get into the 6 viral video ideas. Again, specifically for TikTok, but these could be applied to Instagram or YouTube Shorts or any other short form video platform that pops up. Number 1 is what I like to call the anti-trend. We are all familiar with trends. We are all familiar with the popular lip syncs, the trending audios, the video formats that everyone is seemingly doing. But something that can be really, really powerful is taking whatever the popular trend is and doing the opposite of it, or doing the unexpected with the trend. For example, one of my good friends, Jeff, who is a fellow social media strategist, did a great anti-trend for the popular trending audio Anxiety. I know you know the song, you're probably humming it in your head right now. I don't need to sing it, but it was a trend that was super popular and everyone was using it. And there was even a little dance that went along with it. Well, he started one of his videos by playing that song, and then he cut himself off. And he talked about how we don't need to be speaking anxiety onto ourselves. So it was a great way to take what was popular and what was trending, but to flip it on its head. Another example comes from Colleen of No Shame Sales Game. And this anti-trend was piggybacking off of the trend where people were saying that they met their younger selves for coffee. And this trend was like, hey, I met myself from 10 years ago and I showed up early, but myself 10 years ago showed up late. And it was kind of like comparing and contrasting who you were in the past versus who you are today. It was super popular and a lot of people were doing it. Well, Colleen did a plot twist on this trend where she was saying, if you're meeting your younger self for coffee, you might be having a psychotic break. So it was funny, it was unexpected, and it was the anti-trend. Now, of course, in order to create an anti-trend, you have to know what's trending in the first place. One way to do that is to just scroll, but not scroll unconsciously with your mind off. Scroll consciously with your brain turned on. And sometimes you can do this by just listening to the audio. Don't even look at the videos that are playing on your TikTok For You page or on your Instagram Reels. Just close your eyes, cover your screen, and scroll. And you'll notice, oh, hey, I just scrolled 10 times, but I heard the same song 4 times. Okay, well, that's probably a trending song or audio. Or, hey, I noticed that everyone is using this certain lip sync or this certain format for their videos. That's a good indication that that style of video is trending. If you want to get a little bit more advanced with it, there are plenty of websites that are trend trackers and that basically update on a regular basis with popular sounds and audios on the different platforms. And we at the InstaClubHub send out a free email every week with 5 trending audios. I do want to note these are trending audios for Instagram. So if you specifically want trending audios for TikTok, we can't help you out there. But if you want 5 trending audios every week for Instagram for free, we'll put that link in the show notes below. Okay, viral video idea number 2 is street interviews. In general, any content that is filmed outside is usually going to outperform content that is filmed inside. I believe that this is because psychologically, the viewer understands that there are more variables. There's more that could happen. There's more dynamic things happening outside, out of the comfort of our home, rather than filmed within our own home environment. I also think that content that is filmed outside is usually brighter. It's more dynamic. There's more happening and more changing. But viral video idea number 2 is not just to film a video outside, it's to do street interviews. Street interviews are wild. Anything can happen. Some of the most viral personalities of our modern age, some of the most viral influencers and viral sound bites have come from street interviews. Yes, I'm looking at you, Hawk to a girl, and yes, 15 years ago, I am looking at you, apparently, kid. But when it comes to street interviews, you don't have to be super complex. Basically, just go to a popular street, a popular area. If you live near a big downtown city, that's awesome. If not, you might have to drive a little bit or wait for a local farmer's market or a local festival or just something where there's a big community of people gathering together. Bring your phone. You don't need a fancy camera. Definitely bring an external microphone because when you're filming outside, there's a lot more wind and just exterior noises. So make sure to bring a professional USB or even plugged in microphone so that you can actually hear the audio from the conversations. And then just ask people questions that are related to your niche. Maybe you're going to ask people what they think about your industry. Maybe you're going to ask for a misconception. Maybe you're going to quiz people relating to your industry and you're going to kind of teach them right there on the street. Maybe you're going to set up a booth and ask people to change your mind on a certain subject relating to your niche, and then you're going to debate people on that subject. Maybe you're going to play a game where you're going to guess what people do for a living based off some things that relate to your niche. There are so many different examples. Street interviews are a great way to go viral on TikTok. Viral video idea number 3 is to take an already popular or viral video and do what's called stitch or duet the video. Basically, these are the style of videos where it starts with video number 1, the video from somebody else that has already gone viral, that has gained popularity, and then it cuts to video number 2, which is you addressing video number 1.
Saving a quarter a day is $10,000 at the end of the year. Let that sink in.
Float that shit out because that's not even close to true. A quarter a day times 365 days. $91, you bitch. If you're gonna look at me like this, you better be right. You were off by $9,900. Oh, wait, actually, let me do leap year. She may have meant leap year. Oh, no, you're still not even even close.
Now, oftentimes the most viral commentary videos are the ones that are opposed to the original video. Maybe you're going to argue with them, or you're going to give a rebuttal, or you're going to give your opinion and point of view. Or you could take the opposite approach and discuss why you agree with that popular video. The key here is just make sure that you're adding something. Make sure that you're giving commentary or context, or that you are actually adding to the video and you're not just saying, yeah, I agree, because that's not going to work.
Isn't it kind of funny that now that women work, all the jobs they do are just stuff they would have done at home?
Did he green screen his car?
Viral video idea number 4 is the I'm logging off template. This is a style of video where essentially the purpose of the video is to tell people that you're logging off. Maybe you're deactivating the account. Maybe you're not going to check the account until some future date. And then you're going to ask your audience for some sort of engagement in return. I've seen some people do this on a super minute scale. People saying, I'm a travel creator and I'm about to be on a 6-hour flight from Los Angeles to New York. Let's see if any big brands comment in the next 6 hours. So it's a way to kind of gamify your comment section, and people will see that post. They'll realize that there's some urgency involved, and maybe they'll tag some major travel brands. Other people do this on a much more extended timeline. They'll say things like, I'm logging off until January 1st, 2026. Let's see how many followers I can have by that date. And then maybe the post will go viral and reach a bunch of people. Of course, there are a lot of challenges to this because then you're not going to be posting until that later date. But there are different ways that you could play around with this. I've seen some people say, I'm giving this account to my dog, or I'm giving this account to my girlfriend as a present on this date. Let's see how many followers we can get by then. Viral video idea number 5 is the put a finger down trend. The put a finger down trend started out very simply. People would say things like, put a finger down if you've ever had chicken pox, and then they'd put a finger down. But the trend has very much evolved on TikTok, especially because TikTok is starting to lean more into long form content, and they're starting to give slightly more preferential treatment towards posts that are longer than a minute. But what people are doing is they'll say, put a finger down if, and then they'll tell a really long story, a story that absolutely no one who's watching can relate to. And thus, no one who's watching is going to put a finger down, but it's just a way for them to tell their story. Maybe it's really intricate or complex, or it's really dramatic. And then at the end of the story, they just go and they put their finger down. Here are some examples of what that looks like.
Put a finger down if you were at work one day and a customer comes in and you're in real estate, so you're walking them around the house and it's great chit chat on the first floor. It's going really well. And I'm like, let's go to the second floor. Follow the leader, follow behind me, which you never do. You always walk behind them, but I was new and I didn't know that yet. So we get up the stairs and all of a sudden I'm like, what's up with this dude? He's acting weird all of a sudden, but I don't know what could have happened in the 6.5 seconds from the first floor to the second floor. So I just keep doing my spiel and I'm like, all right, like let's talk about next steps. So we go downstairs and go to my office. I'm like, let me print these things out for you. And every time I have to print something, I have to turn my back to him and walk to the printer and get those items. And out of nowhere, he's like, I have to go. And I'm like, okay. Are you not interested? He's like, I have to go. I will call you. Okay. And he leaves and I go to the bathroom and I realize my pants are split from the back all the way to the middle. And I didn't have underwear on. So my La Cucaracha was just free hanging, looking him dead in the face as we walked up the stairs and every time I went to the printer.
And then finally, last but definitely not least, my 6th viral video idea might have the most viral potential of all. And it's to create a reoccurring series or challenge that directly relates to views or comments or follows or some other form of engagement. For example, there's this guy Gage who is running 1 mile for every follower that he gains. Well, unfortunately for him, this series has gone mega viral, and he now has more than 3 million followers across all platforms. Of course, it's damn near impossible for him to run 3 million miles, but he has been documenting his journey along the way, and he has been doing his best to run multiple miles every single day, now to the point where he has lost over 100 pounds, and he's been doing this for over 100 days straight. But before I show you some other examples of what this might look like, I just want you to think about what are some challenges that you could do that could relate to your niche that you could do on a day-by-day basis. Maybe if you are a rock climbing coach who is giving tips to people who are getting into the world of rock climbing, you're going to climb 1 extra foot for every follower that you have. Maybe if you're a fitness coach, you're going to do 1 push-up for every follower. Or if you're a baker, you're going to bake 1 cupcake for every follower. The bottom line is, while these videos often go viral, it's up to you to put your own creative spin and creative flair on it. Maybe one of your own original versions of one of these trending formats is going to be covered in a future episode of Build Your Tribe as the next viral video idea. Usually, viral videos exist in this sweet spot, this middle ground between what's already popular and trending and what most people are used to, and your own unique style and flair and personality and uniqueness. So while I showed you plenty of examples and gave you plenty of ideas today, I want you to remember to always include what makes you you. Be yourself, let your freak flag fly, and as always, happy networking.